you have to understand something about trading, and that is usually people get into trading because they're trying to solve a financial problem, right? And the way to solve a financial problem is you have to solve the financial problem, right? And so to solve the problem, you have to solve the problem. And solving problems isn't easy. If it was easy, it wouldn't be a financial problem. It wouldn't be a problem. And so if you come in and you think that this is a casino, you're just going to get destroyed. So
welcome back to another episode of the Real Life Trading Pivot Podcast. Here with my boy Dean Bradshaw again, and we do have a special guest with us. We got Casey Stubbs from Trading Strategy Guides and How to Trade It podcast. Welcome, Casey, and glad you can make it on with us.
Thanks, Dean and Dan. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, 100%. Good to have you. And so let's first start at the beginning, I guess. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you got intrigued with the markets, and give us that little bit of a background.
So I started when I was a kid as a computer nerd, right? So we're talking in the 80s. And my Aunt Mary worked at Intel, and she would always bring home computer parts for us to teach us how to build computers. And so we were really into it. And then when I was a teenager, my dad, who was a stock investor, he needed to learn how to use a computer because he's old school, next generation. They didn't really have computers. He wanted to bring his stock trading online. So that was in the early 90s. Stock trading was not online yet. It was just going online. And so when my dad got all the stock equipment to get set up, he didn't know what he was doing. I mean, he couldn't even type or do anything. And so he needed me to help him set up the computer. And so I got everything set up for him. And then I realized that what he was doing, and he was showing me some stuff with stocks. And it was like, whoa, you can actually make money with just pushing a few buttons. You know, so I was like, as a 16-year-old envisioning being a trading millionaire as a very young age.
There you go. Yeah, my parents worked at a bank. All they got me was pens. So
and checkbooks, old checkbooks,
just old checkbooks. Yeah. I'm just kidding. They didn't even work at a bank. I don't know why I said that, but yeah, no, very cool. So you got intrigued. But was it the simplicity of, because I mean, obviously with Thinkorswim, with some of the other just advances as far as like program and how easily accessible the stock market is now compared to, I guess, even back in that time. What was the difficulties of, because the charts were not reading the same as they are now. The information was not as quick. What was some of the difficulties that you saw kind of being in the early age of that era of moving from looking at a stock quote in a newspaper, calling a broker, to actually visualizing a stock on a screen?
So it wasn't super high speed like it was now. So I mean, I don't even remember if they had like a lot of different time frames. I think it was pretty much just the daily chart at that point. So that made it pretty simple to break into because it was just a little bit easier. There wasn't as much things to do. But I was still pretty young, so I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of excited about the idea of making money. Like, talk to kids about making a lot of money, and some of them kind of like that idea. And I happened to be one of those, but I really didn't get into it until after high school. And that's when I joined the Army, and I just started putting money away. So, Dean, guess how much money I made monthly in the Army when I joined in 1996?
Oh, I don't even want to embarrass myself and hazard a guess. I'm assuming it must not be a lot because that question wouldn't have been asked. But go on, let me be shocked.
I made $800 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the Army, protecting the country.
Yeah, but you got to remember, these are 19-year-old kids that can't really do much, right?
Yeah. They still can't today, this generation. Sorry, I'm going to get slaughtered for that, but I'm sure there's a lot of competent 19-year-olds. I just never met any. But
Yeah. The reason I asked that is just because I'm trying to prove a point, and that is that you don't really need to make a lot of money to make a lot of money in the market. So I was stationed overseas in Germany, and I was making $800 a month, and all my buddies were living paycheck to paycheck, but I was
yeah,
putting my money in the market. So when I got out 4 years later, I had $30,000
wow,
in my stock account, and that 30,000 back then is like 72,000 nowadays.
yeah, that's awesome. Just so on that, I don't know if you can divulge this information, Casey, but you was earning 800 a month. But does the army pay for, like, someone might have rent and other things who are not in the army, or civilians? So is like everything covered, or do you still have to contribute towards that as well?
So that was the big benefit. So it's not really that low. 800 is just basically spending cash. They pay for your food, and they pay for your place to live and your medical expenses and all that. So it's $800 of straight pocket cash, which is, that's doable.
Yeah, but it's still that, you still had to make that conscious decision to invest it in the market rather than squander it, right? Because I know that if I'm left with surplus cash, then an offer license around the corner is going to get hit up with some wine orders. I'm going to start going hard on the red wine, and so it's still a conscious decision that you made at such a young age, which is a testament to yourself, I'd say.
I don't really know. I think I was just cheap, and I was wanting to make money.
The law of Lamborghinis and bikini babes was like, yeah, this is why I want to get in the stock market, right? So,
yeah, all my buddies, they live paycheck to paycheck. We get free food, right? And they would go out to eat every night, and I'm like, I'm not going out to eat. I'm going over to this chow hall restaurant for free. Why are you going out to eat every night? Why?
So what stocks did you invest in? Was it like an ETF, or was it any companies in particular?
Tell me you at least got some intel.
Dude, I got intel.
I feel like you got it first. The first stocks you get is the ones you know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought Intel because that's where my aunt worked, and then I bought Ford Motor because my buddies and stuff growing up all like Fords, and I bought LMT, Lockheed Martin, because I was in the Army and we were working with weapons a lot. So that was kind of like, oh yeah, man, I didn't realize how much money these dudes spend on weapons.
So with your early age of getting involved and introduced to the market, was your initial strategy buy holds, or were you actively taking trades or swings or buy low, sell high strategies?
So I didn't really have a specific strategy at that point as far as being intentional with it. But looking back on it now, I know what my strategy was. It was basically a dollar cost average, because every time I got paid, I was throwing money in there. And the big winner, actually, so I made pretty good money on Intel, but my big winner was Cisco. And I started getting into that, like, I can't really even remember. I was just looking at it not too long ago, but it was maybe in the teens. And by the time I was done dollar cost averaging, it was like in the 60s.
Wow.
So I had some help with the market. If you guys remember, and you guys look a little bit younger than me, but there had something called the .com bubble back in 2000. And all of the tech stocks really took off in the late 90s. And so I really benefited from that.
I'm not 12, Casey. I was definitely there for the Oh, to be fair, I was I was still around, but not really trading as much at that point. I was more of the housing crash trader in that time frame is where I started coming in. But yeah, definitely the dot-com bubble, which obviously took everything down, and you could have been getting some Amazon for some sick deals and pricing at that point too. But we'll see. We'll see what this next move on the market wants to give us too for the next.
And also, I'm not that young.
Years.
Yeah, and I'm not that young.
You guys just look younger than me.
I've just had a lot of plastic surgery, Casey. Yeah, I spend all my money on plastic surgery and beauty products. That's
you
it.
You could either be investing or putting into plastic surgery.
Well, I'm investing in my looks. So, Casey, what made you decide to go from being a trader yourself into creating a platform in order to help people to trade or teach them the strategies that you learned over time?
Great question, Dean. And so uh, it seems kind of interesting that along the way, just kind of random things happened to get me into this. Like I just started trading, didn't really have a plan. And that's kind of the same scenario here. Uh, and so I guess if, we're trying to look for actionable tips for the audience, so that I don't want to say that just random events in your life are going to help you. But I would say the main lesson from the past conversation was just, you don't need a lot of money to get started. Just
Mm-hmm.
start where you're at. And I think that's kind of the lesson for this next question too is, if you see an opportunity, walk through the door and don't let anything stop you until you get success. And so this next one has something to do with the housing crash. After I got out of the Army, I was in it for about 9 years. I was still investing, but wasn't like making a ton of money doing it. And I got into construction and started having a family and things like that. So 2008 in the construction industry was really tough. All of the construction stopped happening. And so I got laid off and I couldn't get work. So I was applying for construction job after construction job and nothing was happening. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just start a website. And so I started a website and I decided to talk about what I knew, which was trading. So I just started a website on about trading, and after a few months, people started to visit the website and were asking me questions about trading. And I got picked up by a couple other larger sites, and the traffic really started to take off. And so then I started to connect with other traders, and from there, we realized there was a pretty heavy demand for actionable trading strategies and tips to help traders.
So with all the influx of newer traders coming in, have you noticed a common theme for is it something personal that they're like, for instance, they get laid off and they're like, we need something else to trade, and that's why I'm interested? Was it something that the traders, they come to you, they've already been interested and they just are losing money hand over fist in the market because they don't have a set type of plan or something? Is there any common themes or threads that you see from a lot of the newer traders that are starting with you, or at that time when they were
Well,
coming to your site?
well, Dan, one of the big themes that I'm noticing is that people don't usually, and this isn't everybody, but a lot of people, they don't really ask for help until they get their butt kicked a few times, because they come in thinking they know what they're doing and they try a few things and it doesn't really work. And so then after a few setbacks, they'll start looking for help, and that's usually when they find us.
Isn't that like kind of like a human nature? They're just it asking for help is a sign of weakness when realistically it's a sign of strength, right? Like
It's a
it's
sign
actually
of
more people to,
wisdom.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
Find the smarter person in the room and pick their brain, and that's how you
yeah.
advance. But
yeah. So Dan, how good are you at finding mentors and people that are really wise and experienced to teach you rather than just to do things the hard way?
now I would say I'm a lot more open to it and a lot more being with real life trading. There's a lot of people with a ton of experience that have been doing it longer, that have been just have different setups, different ideas, and it's a whirlwind of knowledge. Prior to that, I was the guy getting my butt kicked in the market, just like watching a YouTube video or reading a book, or I'm like, oh, this is easy. Okay, why don't I just do this thing all the time? And then eventually it fizzles out, and you're very confused as what's because you're so focused on that one strategy, you don't see the big macro picture, you don't see the big overall market, and dealing with people that because I wasn't trading during the .com bubble, but me being able to find people that traded during the .com bubble definitely helped a lot during the housing recession. People that haven't traded during the housing recession now, they could look at some of the people from that and said, okay, what should we expect? How did you handle it? How did you survive those type of markets? And I think being more open to those mentors are a lot. They're a huge aid to a newer trader than one might think. somebody sticking in a shell, I think, is going to have a big issue with some of these markets.
Yeah, well, that's good, man. That's a great response, and yeah, learning from others and researching and reaching out to people. That's another actionable tip from this episode. Go get help. Don't have pride. Go get help.
So, do you offer like coaching sessions as well, Casey, or is it literally because I've seen the website and I know there's a lot of strategies on there, and I'm assuming these are strategies that you and your team have tried and tested. So, do you help people understand the strategies, or do you offer coaching sessions? How does that work? Or how does it how do you get someone who's interested in what you do to become a competent trader?
So part of it is through our courses. We have some courses on there. The free strategies is a big part of it, and the podcast is a huge part of it as well, because I'm on a quest to talk to the world's smartest traders,
Yeah,
and so while I'm interviewing them, there's just a ton of education being dropped on a weekly basis, and so that's a big part of what I do to educate and to help
yeah.
people, as well as teach my own strategies as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And is there any particular market that you're interested in? Do you do, so assuming stocks, anything else, futures, forex, options, what other stuff? What other trading sort of instruments do you do?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff is very intertwined in the global picture, because if you're looking at like the stock market or the indexes and you're trading those, you'll notice that a lot of them are tied together, like with the currencies, the dollar currency and the euro dollar and gold and even cryptos. They all trade very similarly, and they're all connected with the global picture. And like right now, with interest rates and how that's impacting the market, they all flow together. And so to answer the question, I trade a little bit of everything, not too much on options. If I do options, it's more of just buying puts or calls,
Mhm.
and not like the credit or complex option strategies.
Got it.
Are most of the trading strategies that you're using, are they more based for day trading, or are they more swing trades, or are you looking at more technicals or fundamentals of things?
So with the trading, the charts themselves are very, I guess the word for it would be fractal. So if you're looking at a daily time frame and you see a setup, you can trade it on swing trades with daily. But if you want to do it on a lower time frame and trade for a couple hours, you can then drop down to 15-minute charts, run a day trade, and the strategies usually work very similar, just depending on your own personal preferences and your own psyche, right? Your psychological levels. Because if you're the kind of person that has to be in total control all the time, which if you're in the markets, you're going to learn you can't be in total control all the time, but you might think you're in control and you want to sit there and watch your trades and you're uncomfortable leaving it, then you have to be a day trader. I know people that have to be a day trader just because of their own psychological mindset. They can't like leave something overnight.
Yeah, it's interesting. You bring up the psychology of trading. Do you feel your military background has helped you detach your emotions from entering a trade?
No, not at all. Um, because I just kept getting destroyed personally, because I'm a
Yeah.
risk taker, right? So when I joined the army, they're like, "What job do you want to do?" I'm like, "Well, whatever's dangerous and can get me into trouble fast," right? And so with that personal, extreme personality and risk taking mindset that I have, that's terrible for trading. It's great for trading, but because I'm not afraid to take the trade. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
get me out there, I'm going to take the game winning shot type mindset, but it's not conducive to successful trading. So, along with my stubbornness, um, you know, I got to get my knocks in quite a few
yeah.
times before realizing that the most important thing with trading is risk management.
See, I'm
So
the complete opposite for you. I think because of the financial background, I'm very cautious of everything that I do, especially. So I take probably far fewer trades than I should do. And in my rooms and in my sessions, I always own up to that. But I think I'm always like on the cautious side of everything. So yeah, we need to find the middle ground, Casey, and then we'll have the ultimate trader. That's it.
You know what? The market will teach us those lessons, right? Like the market has taught me to be much more cautious.
Yeah.
so after because it sounds like you did have obviously starting out, which I think everybody does. There's losses even now trading professionally. There's still going to be losses. There's still going to be bad days, bad weeks. But with your career of pretty much starting pretty young into the market and just getting, I mean, you kind of dollar cost averaging, buying, holding, and then you got more into trading. When you do get knocked down, you seem to come back again, right? And I think that does have a lot to do with the military background of like, yeah, I took the risk and I knew I was going to, but you come back. I feel like a lot of traders, a lot of new traders won't have that same perspective. What is it about you that you know you can get up and fight again?
Wow, Dan, that's a great question, and I don't really know what it is about me, but I would say that just to encourage people, if you want something, don't give up on it. Because here's what I believe. I believe that failure is the path to success, and the only way to succeed at anything is to fail and fail again and again and again and again. And every time, I mean, I'm still failing all the time, but I'm learning a lot. And then I get some successes in there. You get a couple successes in there. Then you're like, okay, well, I've gotten some success. So now I want to try something new. And I fail, and then I try. So it's just a process of failing and moving forward again. And I'm going to say a quote that's probably it's not accurate, but not totally accurate. I'm paraphrasing the quote, and it was a Winston Churchill. He said, "Success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm." And that's it, right?
Yeah.
You can't cry about the loss. You just got to keep going and keep moving forward, and go after it. And if you don't give up, you can't lose. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I start to see with traders. I guess ones I've been doing for a while, and a lot of new traders. It's the people that seem to come in because they truly like the the risk to reward of trading. They like the fact that being successful at it can free up time. You can make a ton of money trading, and those people I feel like have the better ability to bounce back from certain situations where they'll take a big hit, they'll take a something out of their plan, and they're going wild west on the market that day for some reason. They're the ones that are able to understand what they did wrong and kind of come back. The people that I feel like don't have that same ability is when they were looking at the market as get rich quick or this is my last hope. I think a lot of the last hope people are like, hey, I got unemployed, I got a family, I got a house. I'm just going to throw money into the market, and this is my last opportunity. Like they're at the gas station buying that scratch off lottery ticket. Like this is the last hope, and it's a gamble. And when it doesn't work, they're not, because I don't think the passion was there enough to want to get kicked down again. Where it was just too much of a hassle for them, where they stray and try to find something. Which there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I think you have to have some kind of passion for the market and truly enjoy looking at the bigger economic picture, the technicals of what's going on, trying to work on the craft. But that's on my end what I see a lot from people that have the ability to bounce back and the ones that just try to find a different career path.
Yeah, Dan, that's a great point. And when you mentioned the lottery ticket thing, that kind of strikes a nerve with me because that's like one thing I won't do. I'm a big risk taker, but I won't do that because to me, that's just foolish, right? And so what's the difference between that and trading? There's a couple things. But one of the things I think about with the lottery and with gambling and coming in to the market, I think people look at it as get rich quick. And so here's something, if you're listening to this, you have to understand something about trading. And that is usually people get into trading because they're trying to solve a financial problem, right? And the way to solve a financial problem is you have to solve the financial problem, right? And so to solve the problem, you have to solve the problem. And solving problems isn't easy. If it was easy, it wouldn't be a financial problem. It wouldn't be a problem. And so if you come in and you think that this is a casino, you're just going to get destroyed. So go in with the mindset is I've got to solve this problem, right? And then if you solve that problem, you're going to get rewarded. Don't go in and think this is a casino. This is a get rich quick. I'm just going to throw down on GameStop and it's going to be over for me. Because here's the thing. If you throw down on GameStop and you get lucky and you make $10 million, it's going to end up destroying you. You're not going to be able to hang on to that money anyways. You're going to throw it away. Your friends are going to come out of the woodwork and going to hit you up for loans, and you're just going to end up worse off than you were when you started. Your family's going to be calling. That's why when I do win the lottery, I'm not going to publish or tell anyone that I won.
No, that's it. Neither will I. But there will be signs, though. I'll make certain signs that people might know that I've won the lottery, but I'll just never own up to it.
They're going to see you driving the new car. Did you win the lottery?
No. I'll have a day car and a night car.
Purchasing your new car came oddly timed with the winnings of that last lottery. I don't know.
No comment.
Yeah. Well, I do think that. I think earning money in the market, doing it the correct way, which, I mean, I don't know if there's a correct way or wrong way is if you're making money at the end of the day, but I think the ones that go through the process of being able to do it consistently are the ones that when they do make the money, they're able to hold on to the money a little bit longer. Like, it's kind of to your point, Casey. So I think the ones who hit the lottery or to hit the GameStop or AMC or whatever play is lingering out there now, that's all fine and dandy. But most of the people, there was people I know that made just absolute killings, and I go, take out the money, buy like real estate, buy like an asset, why do you have the money? Like, you came to the market to win big, you won big, do something with it. Otherwise, why you're just in it for the thrill of just winning something big. That's it. Right. And I think they just don't have the good follow through and real financial understanding of what just happened to them to really be able to utilize that money, which is pretty unfortunate. But people just kind of diamond hands it way too long, I think. So, Casey, what else would you tell traders out there? Really, what kind of tips would you give them, or for a struggling trader out there in the podcast world listening to us now, that you think that they would need to hear or would help them with their trading strategies and trading career?
I think the biggest thing is risk management. Hang on to your gains. That's a big one. And I kind of started out with a really good fortune when I made my first couple investments, and I made a lot of money. And then after that, when I started trading more actively, I had some success early on too, before I had my downfalls. And those successes actually gave me motivation and kept me going, because I was like, okay, yeah, I'm sucking right now, but remember that time when I made all of that money and I ended up giving it back, but I can do that again, right? So when I was in my dry spell, I was like, I remembered the success and I kept pushing through. And that's, again, kind of like the keep going, but it's nice to have that win under your belt to like keep you going. But really, risk management's critical. If you have some wins, take the money out and roll it into something else that makes money, right? Take your money, you hit a crypto, a Bitcoin trade or whatever, take that out and buy real estate. Take that out and buy something that's going to buy a business, buy something, like, be smart with your money, buy things that create money, and then you can spend some money when you got cash flow coming in. And then another really big one is, don't get so hung up on your strategy, because that was a big thing that stopped me for a while. I would jump from strategy to strategy, because it's kind of like the shiny object syndrome. Like, yo, Dan, he's got this thing at Real Life Trading and I got to try that out. And so then I just quit like whatever I was working on and go find Dan. And then I try that for a little bit. And it's like, oh man, that's not as easy as what I thought it was going to be. I'm going to go and find Dean's system, right? And then the next thing I know that I lose a trade on Dean's system. I didn't follow the rules on his system anyways, but it still doesn't work for me. So I'm going to go find another one, right? And so, stick with your system, only change a couple things at a time, test it out, manage your risk. You can get anything to work if you tinker at it long enough.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good bit of advice. I think we've all been there with the whole, well, I know I did when I first started trading. I was strategy hopping on a frequent basis. So that was one thing that I had to really drill down and find a system and a strategy that worked for me. And I was just able to execute in a quite boring fashion on a daily basis. And that's where I am today. So I think that's a spot on advice.
Yeah, being boring is good. Slow and steady, man. It's the turtle thing. Be a turtle.
I think Hollywood has this industry pegged all wrong. Like every movie, there's people yelling at each other. They're throwing money in the air. So every single person got, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I'll just do that. And I'm like, wait.
They're on the phone. I need you to buy everything right now.
You get Jim Cramer yelling at everybody all day. I'm like, that's for me. Okay, sign me up. Different. I guess Hollywood lied on that one, but. Yeah,
there's not too much there don't lie on, but yeah, that's a side note.
I guess so. But I think slow and steady is the approach. And with that fashion, how long would you stick to a strategy until you figure out that it is for you or not?
Well, I think that you just try 20 trades. That's always been my thing, is test 20. Stick with it for 20 trades and see what happens. And you would be shocked to know that a lot of people can't even do that. They can't even do 20 trades. And so you're like, okay, you're trying to help somebody out, talking to them. How were your last 20 trades? They can't even tell you what they did in their last 20. They don't even know. So just do 20 trades and see what happens, but make sure you follow the rules and do it exactly the way you're supposed to do for 20 trades and see what happens. And then from there, okay, then you got data. You're like, okay, here was my stats. I won 50%. This was my risk to reward ratio. And okay, well, now maybe I should try a different entry method and see if that changes, or try a different, only change one thing at a time. Change one thing, then try another 20, see what happens. And practice with back testing. Go back, run some back testing, try the same strategy, but adjust one thing for another 20 trades in a back test and see what happens. You got to work at it. It's not, it's definitely not get rich quick. You got to work.
Yeah. The biggest fallacy of the market is just, I'm going to throw some money in on a stock and just get a new house.
A hot stock tip, which, there's a place for stock tips, but just put a percentage in, like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, even a lot of the guys on YouTube that are trading live and stuff, they're like, okay, I'm going to get in 1,000 shares here on Tesla. And you're trying to follow. And like the problem, I'm not saying those guys are bad traders, good traders, real traders. Regardless of any of that, there's somebody on the other side of that screen watching that has no experience in the market. And they're taking the same trade with all of their money. And if that one trade doesn't work out, that person is blown up an account. Well, this guy, that was like 1% of his account. Like you're watching other people do it, and you don't know where else they make income from. You don't know their trading style. You don't know too much of anything. So you're just really just taking a blank trade and hoping for the best. And you are playing the scratch off lottery tickets at that point.
Right. And that's one of the problems with trading education. And it's like, okay, I'm going to go follow this trader. I'm going to do what he's going to do. But that's actually, it doesn't work. Like that doesn't work. Going in and getting signals doesn't work. Okay. People think I don't want to go through your course and learn your education. I just want signals. I don't want to learn anything. I just give me your signals. That's not going to work. Yeah. Go into a day trading room. It's not going to work. You're not going to be able to follow a guy who's got 20 years of experience in the markets and he's day trading live on YouTube. Whether he's good or bad, who knows? It doesn't really matter. You're not going to be able to follow him.
Yeah.
You just gave yourself a signal. Your signal by asking that question is you probably need to do something else here.
It's like when a dude is asking you for signals, a lot about that dude. Just go and quit right now.
Just send him a link.
Just get out of here.
And, there's your signal. But all right, I think we were just about out of time, Casey. We do appreciate having you on the Real Life Trading Pivot Podcast. Any last statements? Any last comments you want to leave with the audience?
No, I think, just go through and try to pick out a few actionable tips that you can apply. I mean, that's my big thing, is always apply what you're listening to. Don't listen to Dean and Dan every week and not do anything about it. Get a pen and pad out and say, what are you going to apply this week? What are you going to apply? Like, when I go to a lot of educational seminars and conferences and whatever, and whenever I go to a conference, it's like, I learned 55,000 different things, and my brain's really not that big. So I just say, there's 2 things that I'm going to apply. I'm going to write them down, and when I leave that conference, 2 things. What am I going to do with those 2 things? And so just pick a couple things and apply it. Take action. Make it happen.
Love it. Awesome. And Dean, is this our end of the season finale?
I think it is, Dan.
I know we're running down there.
We ended on a high by having Casey here, so I thought we'd save the best till last, and we'll look forward to 2023.
I love it. So this is the end of this year's Real Life Trading Pivot Podcast. As you guys know, Real Life Trading is closed for the last 2 weeks of the year, just to spend time with friends, family, and go over the trades, go over what you guys have done, look through those journals. Don't let them collect dust. Figure out the strategy, as Casey was mentioning. Take some points from what you've traded and use this time to kind of recollect yourself and then push into the new year. Casey, pleasure as always having you on the Real Life Trading Pivot Podcast. We'll have to have you back real soon. And to all the listeners, we do appreciate you guys listening each and every week, and we'll catch you guys in 2023. Take it easy, guys.